Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution.
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 You want a revolution?
You say you want a revolution?
Revolution. The revolution.
It's going on right now.
Welcome to The Revolution, the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we ask today's most successful entrepreneurs to share the tools and strategies they use to build relationships and connections to grow their revenue. Now, your host for The Revolution, John Corcoran.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here, the host of the Smart Business Revolution podcast. And as you know, I get to talk to smart founders, CEOs, and entrepreneurs every week of all kinds of companies and organizations like YPO, EO, Activation Blizzard, LendingTree, OpenTable, Act Software, and many more. I'm also the co-founder of Rise 25, where we help to connect B2B business owners to their ideal prospects. And for introducing today's guest, I want to give a big thank you to Fran Biederman-Gross for recommending our guest. She's the founder of Advantages and the host of the Drive Profit with Purpose podcast. Check out 3keysbook.com/podcast to check that out, or go on iTunes or any of Stitcher, any of your usual podcasting apps. But I'm excited today because my guest is Robert Glazer. He's the founder and CEO of Acceleration Partners, which is a global partner marketing agency. And if you're wondering, what is a global partner marketing agency? He will explain in a moment. He's also the recipient of numerous industry and company culture awards, including, this is amazing, Glassdoor's Employees' Choice Awards 2 years in a row. He's also the author of the inspirational newsletter Friday Forward, which is read by over 200,000 people in 60 countries on a weekly basis, and author of the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller Elevate, an international best-selling book, Performance Partnerships. He's also got a couple more books coming out, How to Make Virtual Teams Work, which is incredibly relevant right now as we record this in the end of July 2020. That'll be coming out in a couple weeks. And his newest book, Friday Forward, releases in September 2020. He's also a sought-after speaker by companies and organizations around the world, and also the host of the Elevate podcast. But first, before we get into this interview, this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. Rise 25 helps B2B businesses to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships with done-for-you podcasts and content marketing. You're listening to this right now, so you're probably thinking, okay, I like podcasts, and maybe you're thinking, oh, should maybe I do one as well? Since obviously Bob has one, John has one, everyone seems to be doing it. Well, for years I've been saying, yes, you should. It's one of the best things I've ever done. We specialize in helping B2B businesses with high client lifetime value. So if you want to learn more, go to rise25media.com and we'll tell you more. But Bob, I'll put you into the conversation. How have you liked doing your podcast? What have you gotten out of it?
I've gotten a lot. I love learning from, I'm very intentional with people I ask to be on and love learning from them. And I think, I don't know, something like 80% of people never get to a second episode or something like that. I think things like writing and podcasts, they reward perseverance and longevity and sort of putting in the work. So if you think you're going to get a podcast turned into an ad and it's going to be great for users and great for your business, it's not, right? I think you need to create value for your listeners and then eventually it could be helpful to your business. But it's very similar to our business and affiliate marketing and writing. People are like, what kind of business should I start to make money as an affiliate? And I was like, well, that's your goal. You might struggle because most people actually have a real passion about something and they develop this world-renowned blog for it, and then they focus on monetizing it. So I think these things can be great, but I think you need to really, do it for the right reasons and plan on investing a lot in it before you get anything out of it.
Right. There's so many great lessons of what you just said. Being intentional about who you interview, I think, is a great lesson. Being in for the long tail. And, one of the things you're most known for is that Friday Forward newsletter, which actually didn't even start as something you intended to share with the world. It was just something you did internally for your team. So talk about that.
Yeah, I started as a note called Friday Inspiration My Team. I had been working on my mornings and from a leadership training and trying to improve my mornings. And one of the core things is kind of reading and writing. And the stuff I was reading, you're supposed to read something positive in the morning. It was a little too rainbow and unicorny for me. So I was like, you know what? I have some quotes and stories and I'm going to write something. I'll write it to my team. It wasn't really about our business. I realized it was getting shared outside the company as I was getting feedback through spouses and brothers and sisters. And so at one point I just kind of opened it up and put some people on it and figured I'd get a lot of nasty emails saying, what the hell is this? Take me off of this. But I didn't, and they started forwarding it too. So the name became Friday Forward, and now anyone can sign up for it. And it's crazy for me every Friday when I go look at the little map of pins all over the world where people are opening it.
That's cool. Now, I'm looking at your website for Friday Forward right now, and I have to say, for a guy who's involved in affiliate work, I mean, you're missing some opportunities here. I mean, even the most recent article is about this experience going to a lobster hut, which I got family connections to Kenny Bunkport, and my mom worked at a lobster hut in college. I love lobster huts, but please, come on. There's some affiliate opportunities here. So do you feel pressure to do that given what you do? Or do you feel like this is the safe space that I have to keep separate?
So Friday Forward has always been non-commercial. I mean, people pitch me stuff. They want stuff covered. I have a separate sort of newsletter under my name that I do every month or two. Like if they have a service or something they want me to talk about, they want an ad, I'll do that there. But I've always kept that really pure, and it helps to have a universal policy and things and values on things. So the answer is just no to everyone. In fact, other than occasionally maybe I'd link to something on Amazon, I would never even put a link in that because I don't want anyone to think that that's why I'm writing about it.
Wow, that is definitely principled to not even put an Amazon link on there. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Amazon link because it's just sort of universal, but it would actually follow the advice I would give to someone else, which is to say, and actually what some of the really big publishers is they have content teams who develop the content, like they write the review and then they pass it over to the monetization team and say, if you can monetize what I wrote without changing it, go for it. But they try to keep editorial and monetization separate.
Yeah. So talk to me about explain for those who are listening about what you do.
Sure.
What partner marketing is, affiliate marketing. I've done a lot of affiliate marketing in the past, haven't been as much in recent years, but you on LinkedIn, you've got 177 employees on LinkedIn. I don't know if that's the actual head count. Usually it's
that's close. It's about 170.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is extremely rare to see an agency of that size that is in affiliate and partnerships. So why, first of all, what is it? What do you do? And then why do you think that you've been managed to scale up the team?
Yeah. And there's a great probably learning in that I would tell a lot of businesses. So affiliate partner marketing is a form of digital marketing where instead of paying for a click or an impression or some other metric, you pay for an outcome. So you reach out to partners or publishers. They could be deal sites, they could be mom bloggers, they could be a podcast who's linking to the guest books, or they're large public companies too, people that control content and media. And you have them join the program. It's kind of like digital business development, and you track all their activity through to conversion, and you pay them on a conversion basis. That could be revenue, a lead, or otherwise. So people really like this because it ties their budget to outcome. It's like paying for your marketing after you get the sale. And with more and more things going online and direct, there's just a huge shift to performance. So this is a channel that needs to be managed, kind of like your search needs to be managed and your social needs to be managed. And we started doing this years ago and just became kind of the largest company that works with big brands and big programs on a global basis to run these programs, which may have hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of partners in them that have questions and needs things and need support. From our trajectory, we used to do a lot more stuff. We did search, we did other stuff. We looked around and we said, this market keeps growing and no one seems to really want to do this and do this well. I would advise any business, or particularly an agency, to get to 10 million in revenue by doing something world-class. The more things you actually do below 10 million, I think the less you get yourself to that 10 million in revenue mark, because you gotta be, if you're world-class at something, you can build a $10 million business. A lot of times I look at a marketing agency or their website and they have more people than practice areas, right? That's if you have 7 people and 8 services, that you're not really competent and at scale in those areas. And so actually from the moment we started peeling off some of the other stuff and really leaning into that, our business really scaled. and that's the point where you can make the decision to acquire, be acquired, go into other areas. We've actually continued to make the decision. We think this market is a market and it's growing dramatically. We've expanded geographically rather than continue to add services. We're now helping people with global programs, which there just aren't a lot of agencies out there that can do that. So we've become a big fish in a small pond.
Right. And how have you managed to get these larger companies? A lot of business owners struggle with that, or they're curious about that. How do you get larger companies?
We have sort of a barbell approach. So we try to, as a service firm, do really good work. A lot of our clients move around and we stay with them and we get a lot of referrals. And then we have really good content, thought leadership. So, that brings people to us, looking for us, finding an article, finding a to-do or a tip sheet that we had. And really our sales team is there consultatively as people reach out and want to see how we could help them. So we've always had advisors said that sort of the barbell, which is like good content marketing. You can have a thin sort of sales bar and then, really good delivery so that you get a lot of referrals. And I think we've just made a lot of these larger enterprise companies comfortable with us being in charge of their brand, particularly since a lot of the businesses in our industry were kind of a lot of mom and pop operations, not someone that a Fortune 500 company wanted to have them sort of as their brand ambassador, signing up these partners for their program.
Right. In some ways, you're pioneering it because you're such a larger agency in an area that's typically mom and pop. I don't know if this is a good comparison, but Home Depot, which there were these small little hardware stores all around the country, but there wasn't a large, great experience hardware store that was nationwide, perhaps.
Yeah, we've had to create our market a little bit. I mean, one of the things that we did that I wouldn't recommend necessarily to most people but we felt like the market was misunderstood. It was rebranding under the partnership from affiliates. So we wrote a book 3 years ago titled Performance Partnerships and tried to go to the world and say, look, this is the future, and try to move the market towards what we did, which is a little bit like pushing the boulder uphill. But we felt strongly about that. And now the term partnership marketing is in partnership automation is getting a lot of interest in financing, and there's been a ton of M&A recently. So we've seen a lot of momentum in that direction.
Do you think using that term, your own term, rather than affiliate as a term, do you think that has helped?
Yeah, we saw it more where the market was going. The affiliate means a lot of different things. And there was a lot of low end affiliate stuff that I think the high end affiliate industry, a lot of like book swaps and list swaps and email stuff, which is very different than what we were doing with retailers. And so I think the industry really wanted to rebrand itself for a while because it didn't totally explain what they did either. And, when if we have a client who's advocating to get some resources, internally, if they say, I need to do X for a partner of ours versus an affiliate of ours, I just think the partner term is actually what they are. What affiliate is actually doing is morphing with business development, and it's offering the tools to scale kind of business development and partner relationships in a way that the team, the small few ones that need a ton of customization and contracts and stuff can be helped by business development. But all these other relationships can be put on a platform and just much better managed at scale. A lot of companies, their trash is our treasure. Their BD team turns down a $50,000 a year partner because they only want to do $1 million deals. We can put that person on a platform and get them up and running in a day. If we had to sign up paperwork, contracts, negotiate with them, landing pages, then it wouldn't work.
Right. I want to ask you about, you've got this book coming out, How to Make Virtual Teams Work. We're recording this end of July 2020. The pandemic is still unfolding. You've had a virtual team. Yeah, it's not over, unfortunately. You've had a virtual team all this time. What has the experience been like for you over the last 5 months or so with already having a virtual team?
It's like going from pariah to, lecturer. I always felt for years a little bit we had to even hide it. We were this blue chip agency. This was a key thing that we used to get talent. We really believed in it. And I think even one of our clients would give us a really hard time that our people work from home. And we have actually certain standards. So they're not working from home with their kids running around and stuff.
They weren't.
Now they are, ironically. But yeah, what people worried about before is now happening for everyone now. Because we have standards about how people need to be set up. But it's been interesting. I mean, I have been speaking a ton. I've been asked to speak to executive teams and companies around sort of how do we do this. Now everyone's fascinated, both sort of how do we get through now, but now companies are really thinking about, do I want to do this going forward? And well, I can share a lot of the tips and tricks and things that we've done, like the tools. I'm really passionate about like the type of company that we built and the culture that we built is the foundation to why remote work works for us. And so I've been really trying to share that with a bunch of companies on, if you're going to go all in on this, then you really need to rethink your whole culture. And if you have a bunch of micromanaging leaders like that don't trust people, good luck with your remote virtual work experience. We've always said like our environment was really about flexibility and autonomy. Like remote work was just a byproduct of that. So people have asked me over the years to speak on stuff about remote work or at the remote work conference. And I was like, I'm not super passionate about just the concept of remote work from remote work. We love having the flexibility and autonomy and accountability. Like that's what our culture is really about. People that want flexibility and want to deliver outcomes. And it's not that they never want to walk into an office. It's just, that's sort of higher on the needs for them. So most companies are not set up that way. Their management systems aren't set up that way. We're all on the same page at our company. So like we have a world-class onboarding program because we have to. I just heard someone complaining, we can't do onboarding virtually this week. I'm like, that's not true. It's just, you need a world-class program because they're not in the office. So it's harder. So we script out people's first 3 weeks, and exactly what they're doing every hour. But that forces us to be really thoughtful. I mean, my first job I started, they didn't know I was starting that week. Like, oh, go follow Winifred. Like that's how a lot of companies handle onboarding. Right. You can get away with that in person. It doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do.
Right. I've had a few experiences like that. At the end of your first day, someone asks you, how was your first day? And you're like, honestly, I have no idea. I don't think anyone knew I was showing up that day. It's a horrible experience.
Like, John, just go follow Sally. Right. Exactly. I mean, you can do that. So
Sally's annoyed the whole time.
I think we have processes and systems of $100 million plus company because we've been forced to build those. And it is actually, it's something that makes you create a little more discipline in your operation as a business.
Give us some tips on how to build a good company culture for a virtual team, because that's something that we've been thinking about a lot recently. Yeah. One piece of advice I got from somewhere else was to have a question of the day, which we do in Slack. And actually Joy on our team took the initiative on that. And I started doing it and then she started doing it, which was great. So talk a little bit about things like that.
Well, there's a tactic. So I think most meetings need to be rethought. They need to cut down in half. You shouldn't have update meetings. You should send memos and have meetings that are actual dialogue and engagement. We try to use video, for one-off interactions all the time. Now it's a little hard because you have sort of total Zoom fatigue. We use asynchronous video a lot. We focus on helping people structure their day and routine in a way that's most productive and thinking about kind of how they work. Actually, the biggest problem people have in remote work is working too much, not enough. I think there's this fear that people are off doing whatever, but actually they overwork when everything can stay on and they can take work to bed with them. A lot of it is having to create that separation. But again, at a higher cultural foundational level, if this is something that you want to do, you need to have a culture with a lot of financial and accountability and transparency where people have scorecards and they know the metrics and they know the outcomes, because you don't want to manage their hours. And you have leaders that hold people accountable and don't view sort of the time seeing them as productive. Again, someone who is a draconian micromanager and who doesn't trust people will not be a good leader of a virtual team. Like we have standards, we have goals. It's all public. Like people say, how do you know people are getting anything done? I'm like, because some scorecard every day represents that, right? The client's happy, the revenue for the account is good. If those things are both green, then I'm not worried how that person's spending their hour. If you manage time, you will get time. If you manage outcomes, you will get outcomes. And I think that's a big shift for people that should have gone on a long time ago, right? We all understand this in sales. Like if Mary, works 14 hours a day and sells, $1,000 a day, and Sally works 2 hours a day and sells $10,000 a day, you value Sally as a salesperson much higher. I think we need to start thinking about all positions like that.
Now, one question people ask about that, about creating scorecard or KPIs or metrics, is how do you give that to everyone? If there's someone on the team who it's not immediately evident, obviously with the salesperson, okay, you can figure that out. But sometimes there are members of the team who, how do you come up with KPIs or metrics for that person?
We're super aligned. Like we work from the top down. Like here's our vision, here's our goals, here's our values. Then how do we get there? Everyone's got a top 5. Everyone's got 3 things that they were going to get done for the quarter. So we just have systems where all of that stuff is out there. So you either have a qualitative or a quantitative metric. And let me explain, like in one of the ones that we have in our different levels of client service is like you're able to answer 90% of the client's issues without escalating, right? So that's not a financial metric, but that tells us, like, is that person doing a good job as a senior manager? If they're constantly having to fly everything up the flagpole, we'd sit down with them and say, look, your need to escalate things is way out of the norm for this role. So we need to figure that out, because you're being paid at this level to where it really should be the 5 or 10% of things that need to be escalated. So I really look, you should know in any role what good looks like. You should be able to describe qualitatively or quantitatively what good looks like for people 3 to 4 months down the line. And you eliminate a lot of awkward discussions. Like if you start a job at our company, your job in the thing that you responded to, the job rec, it would have said success at 6 months looks like X. Success at 12 months looks like Y, and it would have that all listed out, both to make sure you knew that when you took the job. But then, John, when we're sitting down with you at those times, either at 6 months, we're talking about why it's not going to work out or whether you're going to have a promotion. It's still those 5 things. The problem is when the employee and the employer have totally different definitions of success. I think that's where and those are usually things that are unstated. Like when people tell me they're looking to hire a sales and marketing leader, what are my thoughts? My thoughts are, don't do that. Because send me the KPIs. Like the sales team's going to want them to sell, the marketing team's going to want them to market. Like I've just seen these disasters, and the person thinks they're doing a great job and are working 100 hours a week, and marketing's not getting what they think they want, and sales isn't getting what. So we force people to solve all this stuff before the person is hired.
Anything else that you've received this insane array of different recognition for your company's culture, best workplace. Anything else that you've been doing that has helped contribute to that?
Yeah, we've been being authentic. So you could read all these great places to work awards, and I would tell you and your audience, like, we're a great place to work for 1 to 2% of the population. We've done a really good job finding people who are aligned to that. So I just find that, the ideal for a company is that what they think, what they say, and what they do are all aligned. That everyone's happy in those scenarios. So their values match their actions, match their sort of vision. And most companies just have a problem being honest. I always say, like, if you're a founder and you're a competitive athlete and you believe in winning and losing, don't put crap on the wall like we value teamwork around here and everyone's equal. No, say, look, we're about winning and losing. 80% of our bonuses go to the 20% of the top people. This is how it works here. And you will get those competitive people. I think a lot of leaders aren't self-aware enough to know who they are, what kind of culture they want to build. So they just say a lot of things that aren't really who they are and who the company are. We try to be really upfront and clear about here's why you would love working at Acceleration Partners, which is mostly our core values, which not everyone is, and here's why you wouldn't. We are not for everyone.
That's great. Well, this has been great, Bob, and I want to wrap things up with the question that I always ask, which is, let's pretend we're at an awards banquet, much like the Oscars or the Emmys, and you're receiving an award for lifetime achievement for everything you've done up until this point. And what we all want to know is, who do you thank? Who are the mentors? Who are the friends? Who are the peers? Who are the business partners? Who are the team members? Who are the people you would acknowledge in your remarks?
Yeah, I think it's probably, 3 groups. I've had some incredible mentors, board members, coaches over the years, and I write all their names out to make sure I didn't meet them. They're the ones who are sort of coaching me. And at the same time, I've had great team members that I've been part of on my Acceleration Partners team. Matt Wool's been our president for years. Our whole leadership team has really, supported me and allowed me to do well. And then I'd be remiss. My wife and 3 kids, they've they probably sacrificed the most in terms of what I've been able to accomplish. A lot of nights, a lot of weekends, and so those are really the three groups that I would want to thank.
Well, they've seen a lot of you recently, right?
They've seen a lot of me recently. We're all sick of each other. They're now like, when are you going away again?
Yeah, back to the office, Dad. You don't have an office, so that would not going to work. Well, this has been great. Where can people go to learn more about you, Robert?
Sure. Yeah. You can find everything at robertglazer, glazer.com. You can sign up for podcasts, learn about the books, sign up for Friday Forward. And if you go to /connect, I put a bunch of the resources on virtual work and some of the stuff that we've talked about today on there.
Great. All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast with John Corcoran. Find out more at smartbusinessrevolution.com. And while you're there, sign up for our email list and join the revolution.
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 And be listening for the next episode of the Smart Business Revolution podcast.